Okay, I am going to take a tip from Brandon and read off my questions so you guys can start getting in the mindset, and then you can smack me around and say, you're not asking the most important thing, and if we need to cover something else, you'll let me know. Okay, first of all, how does collaboration work? What are the different styles of collaboration? And what are the different ways of splitting duties and or payments? Is collaboration easier or harder than writing alone? Why do it, and what are some of the pitfalls? So, starting at the top, how does collaboration work? Kevin?
When I'm writing with my wife, it works exquisitely well.
Good. Okay, Dave. No, Dave's gone.
No.
Okay.
I want to specifically talk about how I've collaborated with a lot of different people, but I've found a technique that works pretty well with everyone that I've done, and I'll just give it as an example. But all partnerships are different. All marriages are different. So what works for me and Rebecca might not work for you guys, but I'll tell you how we do it. In fact, then we'll want Eric to talk about how he does it, and it's also different if you collaborate with somebody who doesn't happen to be alive anymore, which I've also done and which Brandon's doing. What we do, Rebecca and I, and Brian Herbert and I do it this way, Doug Beeson and I do it this way. When we've got a book, we will meet face-to-face and brainstorm the whole book. What happens? Who are the characters? What is the plot outline? And as we brainstorm it, we will come up with the outline for the book. For all of the Young Jedi Knights books we've done, or for the Crystal Doors books we've done, or for the Dune books I do with Brian, we will come up with 26 chapters in that book, or 126 chapters in the Dune book. We'll map out exactly what happens, what order it happens in. We'll brainstorm it. We used to put different colored index cards on the floor so we could rearrange them like puzzle pieces. Each one had a line about what the chapter was, and we would just brainstorm and add things, and we'd talk about the characters, and it was a blast. That's the most fun about collaborating, is to be just making up stories and coming up with characters. And she would throw some ideas in, and I would riff off of them, and then she would riff off that. She would riff off of that. We would have our own little code that we would be brainstorming. But if one or the other of us said, "Ooh," that means other person.
Everybody in the world shut up because I've got a brilliant idea. Let me get it out there before I lose it.
Okay, they all work differently. I collaborate an enormous amount. Of the 34 novels I've written, all but 5 of them have been collaborations. Now, that's something of an optical illusion because 7 of them I did with David Drake, and I do all the writing. And the one I did with Richard Roach, I essentially did all the writing. But every collaboration works different, and it ranges from when I collaborate with David Drake, it's exactly the way an opera gets done. He develops the outline, plots out the whole story, just like a librettist will come up with the songs, and then I put it to music. I actually make a book out of it. I do all the writing. This works really well for both of us because David really likes to plot, and for my money, he's probably the best plotter in the business, and I don't particularly enjoy plotting. I can do it, obviously, or I couldn't write, but I mean, it's not, he does it for fun, which strikes me as weird. But on the other hand, I really like to write, so it works really well for both of us. We've done 7 books together that way, and that's the way we'll continue working. On the opposite side, by this stage, I've done about the same number of books with Dave Freer, and at this point, it's almost the other way around. He does almost all the writing, and my contribution comes at the front end, and I also do I serve as his editor, because he generally needs a fair amount of editing. Earlier on in our partnership, I would do more of the writing, but the truth is Dave's just gotten so good that when I get one of his things, it's like I might add a few paragraphs or expand a subplot or something like that, but there's no point messing with it because it's very good the way it is.
I am much less experienced at this than you guys and Eric. I've only collaborated on one novel so far. I'm in the process of a second, and actually some others with friends of mine. The big one, obviously, is the Wheel of Time books. And I was surprised when people called that a collaboration. That's what they started calling it from the get-go. That shocked me because I didn't know that term counted with what I was doing. But that's how it's termed in publishing terms. The Wheel of Time books have been a very different experience because in some ways, the person I'm collaborating with is Robert Jordan's widow.
That's true.
Who, if you don't know Harriet McDougall, his widow is quite an extraordinary person. She was an editor with Tor years before, from the beginning, years before she met and married Robert Jordan. She published the book Ender's Game. She was editor on that, for instance, years before she met Robert Jordan. And then she discovered and edited and married Robert Jordan. So she she edited two of Tom Doherty's biggest books of all time, Eye of the World and Ender's Game. So this is an extraordinary woman. And she knows what she's doing, which is quite interesting. Working with the widow, I can, I know that Kevin has worked with estates before that have been difficult. And Harriet, she's been demanding, but never difficult. She's worked with a lot of new authors, many new authors. She's discovered, nurtured, and helped new authors for the last 30 years. And so she knows how to work with someone like me. With the Wheel of Time book, I was handed 3 million words of notes. Wow. Yes.
A little light reading.
12 novels of an average length of 250,000 words, and an outline complete with written chapters and sections scattered throughout the entire outline, because Robert Jordan did not write linearly or chronologically. And I was given this in a time when Harriet was still grieving for the loss of her husband, whom she loved very, very much. And so she essentially...